commissioner separately of the governor. Yep. In some states, the governor appoints the insurance commissioner. Here in Washington, we elect the insurance commissioner. Normally, it's a position that doesn't get a lot of attention, but insurance rates all around Washington have skyrocketed in the last 18 months or so. And whether it's homeowners or auto or any kind of business insurance, way up. I think that race may get more attention than it usually does this next month or so. Our candidate for insurance commissioner is a fellow by the name of Phil Fortunato. He's currently a state senator out of the Auburn area, running for state insurance commissioner. And like some state senators, Phil does go on and on, but he's been very focused in this campaign, talking basically about being a consumer advocate for people who buy insurance, which is really all of us. I mean, we all have to buy insurance. So I'm hoping that Fortunato gets some traction in his race for insurance commissioner. And then our anchor man tonight, among the statewide executive positions, we've referenced the job he's running for now several times by several people, is Matt Hawkins, who's running for state auditor. There is so much that the state auditor's position needs to do and can do to make state agencies work better. Matt, I am glad you're taking this on, and take it away, state auditor.
Great, I'm Matt Hawkins. The state auditor, okay, again, is not a job that I aspired to. It's not one that I dreamed of. It's not one that I even thought about even years ago. It was one of those jobs that you just kind of tuck away and put it away and don't even think about it. But it wasn't until the last several years that all of a sudden the role of the auditor became more important and more center stage on everything that I was doing. To start out, let me explain a little bit. You'll find on your table this little sticker. It's a ladybug holding an American flag with a QR code, and when it says underneath it, Matt Hawkins for state auditor. Some people have been asking me, why the ladybug? The ladybug is a unique creature. The ladybug grows and thrives as they find the aphids in a garden. Aphids are the bad bugs. Aphids are the things that tear a garden down and make a garden die. We in Washington State are finding that there's a lot of policies and players in the state that are helping our garden to not be so green. For an evergreen state, you would think that we would have better policies and we'd have better players on the stage. So I'm here to tell you that my ladybug, I'm modeling myself after the ladybug, that I want to go on out and find the aphids, the bad policies, and the bad players so that we can make this state greener again. Number two, if you think about it, Sharon already alluded to it, the fact that there's billions of dollars that have been going missing, that have been showing up in some of the audit reports. I claim that the audit reports are not going deep enough, that the audit reports are shallow, and the audit reports do not show with clarity how there's going to be a recovery of the billions that have been lost. So we need to find out where these billions, it's not so much finding the gotchas where someone that's stolen $10,000 or $1 million, that we catch them and now we're going to throw them in jail. We got to find out where the billions of dollars are going and what's happening there. So number one, it's about trying to go deep on these major programs. What Sharon didn't allude to is the fact that they're getting ready to go live with the new finance system, a financial accounting software that's been in place with the legacy system for the last 40, 50 years. And they're getting ready to transition that into a new program here in 2025. 5 years behind schedule, $500 million invested into it. Well, actually 3 years behind schedule, 5 years in the planning. And they think that they're going to have problems with it next year. Now, if you think the Nigerian scam was bad when they lost at least $647 million, we don't know what the full extent of that was. Can you imagine what will happen when they go live with the finance program that they're behind schedule on, they don't know really what's going on, and the confidence that I have is we may never know what all the problems are that they've had with that program. Next in line. The auditor's office is more than just finances. It's about process and systems. It's about identifying what are the process and systems that can be improved in this state. The number one glaring problem that I find is our education sector. And I think the auditor can have a tremendous influence on how we can be transitioning out of a system where we have all-time record levels of revenue coming into the education sector, and yet our test scores are falling and keep falling and keep falling. I've grown up in the state, and I believe that we should be showing our better side. I think that our teachers should be unleashed to be able to really teach the kids, and I don't think that they are. If our teachers were being unleashed and they really, love what they're doing, then our test scores should be climbing because our children should be having a thirst for an education. When you consider that then as well with regards to regulations that are impacting other industries, regulations that I've heard one number say that the regulations impacting the construction industry are probably adding $100,000 to the cost of a house. If that's true, then government owns that part of the equation, and government should be able to remove that or pull that out so we can help to reduce the cost of housing. I think that reports need to be more prevalent out there. And if J.D. Vance is correct from what he's saying last night, we have an issue that the illegal immigration that's been going on, and I've been saying this one for some time, that we don't have a good report in the state identifying how many illegal immigrants we have in the state. The low number that I have is about 300,000. J.D. Vance says in his debate last night, he provided the evidence for it that says that because of that illegal immigration that's going on, that is part of the reason why the cost of housing is climbing.
That's right.
So when people are kind of wondering where are the solutions at, I'm saying that I think that an auditor that's doing reports that are viable, you'll find it if you read the Tribune up there in Everett. They identify very quickly and proudly that our current auditor is doing like 2,500 audits a year. Great, hands off to her. I appreciate all those audits. But when the audits aren't complete, when the audits don't go deep, when the audits don't give the solutions to the problems that we have, I think we have a problem with the auditor's office. I've got 35 plus years in the private sector, and having worked through the idea that when a company hires you on to come in and help turn their business around, they expect results. They're not expecting just reports, they're expecting to be able to have a pathway to action. And I'm here to tell you that as a state auditor, I will help provide those pathways to action. I appreciate what our candidate for Secretary of State has been saying tonight, because I've been on board with him, and I can work with everyone on this team. Absolutely, I can. And what I like about what he's doing is he's being proactive in the approach that says he's identifying the fact that we need audits of the election system. Now, for a current state auditor that claims that they're doing 2,500 audits a year, all over the board in all these departments, catching all these bad activities that are going on and $2 billion in losses, I'm saying that's great. But at the core of it all, the one thing that is never being audited is our election system.
Right.
Now think about that. In 25 years, there's never been an audit of the election system to the same standards as we have to experience in the private sector. So what's going wrong here? I think that it's time to get someone into office that understands that process, that understands that level of accountability, that says, I do want to see, I'm not a denier of elections. I really don't care how we vote in the elections. If everybody in the state wants to vote by mail, I'm saying great, then stand up, let's vote by mail. But if we're going to vote by mail, I want to have an audit process in place that can show that the system is above reproach and that the people's vote counts. If it's supposed to be done in secret, then let it be done in secret. If your vote is to count, I want it to count. I want it to know that there's a full accounting to what's going on. I know that I'm the reason that I've given some heartache to our state auditor. I mean, our state Secretary of State, as well as our state auditor, because about 2.5 years ago, they wrote a brand new WAC because of the group of people that I was working with that were requesting a third-party audit of the election system. They wrote a brand new WAC at that time that said that a third-party audit of the election system cannot be done, no matter if the county commissioners want to authorize it. Then most recently, after the 2022 election, we asked for a reconciliation of the election record, and they denied us a reconciliation of the election record, even though 5,000 ballots were printed at home in Spokane County, and that was not reconciled into the record. Not in any kind of clean way that all the volunteers that were observing the elections could justify. Yet the county auditor won her race by 1,100 votes.
Imagine that.
So now, I say this very clearly because I know it's getting recorded and I want it to be out there. Again, there's been no audits of the election record in any county in Washington state in 25 years to the same standards as we have within the private sector. I've been saying that for several years now and nobody's challenged me on it. We had 5,000 ballots that were not reconciled into the election record in Spokane County. I don't know if other counties have the same experience or not, but that's for ballots that are printed at home. And all I'm saying is, if you want to be able to print your ballot at home, that's fine. But we should be able to audit that and be able to reconcile it. I'm here, I'm Matt Hawkins, I'm running for state auditor. Please take this little guy, get his picture, post him online, and let's help spread the word out because we need to move the dial in those three dominant counties in the I-5 corridor. We need to get people out there to understand that we are here to represent and work with all the people. The state treasurer is going to work with all the people. Sharon's going to work with everyone. I'm going to work with everyone. Dale will work with everyone. I'm here to tell you that we all will work with everyone. We need to make sure that that message gets across. Please share the little ladybug. And I think you'll like the results. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Again, Matt Hawkins, running for state auditor, a position that is getting more and more attention these days, and rightly so. There'll be one more statewide election on your ballot in November. It's not an executive branch election, it's a judiciary branch election. One of the seats on the state Supreme Court is open. That doesn't happen very often. Generally, on the state Supreme Court, the justices, the judges, retire in the middle of a term, and the governor appoints a temporary replacement who then runs at the next election as the incumbent judge on the state Supreme Court. One of the members, a woman, not even a conservative, didn't like that system, didn't like giving the outgoing governor an appointment, and announced she was retiring but was going to serve her full term and then retire, allowing the seat to be open to an election. We have an open state Supreme Court election this November. There was a heated primary. A number of judges and lawyers and people wanted to run for that position. The candidate that we like in the general election is David Larson. So you have David Olson running for superintendent of schools, David Larson running for the state Supreme Court. Larson is currently a municipal judge in Federal Way, Washington, sort of south part of King County. And he's the only person running for this spot who's currently a judge. The other guy is a lawyer, but not a judge. Larson is a constitutionalist. He's actually read the Constitution. What a shock. And it's a very hopeful sign because while judge races are non-partisan, you don't run as a Republican, it's all right. You don't run as a Republican or a Democrat for a judge race. And some of you may know this from the local judge races. These judicial races are very hard to kind of figure out. Judges are barred by not the law, but by the Bar Association's rules from talking very much about what they would do as a judge. There are basically ethics, professional ethics standards that say they can't say how they would vote on an issue, how they would rule on an issue that they would face sitting on the bench. Even if you ask a hypothetical, many of them will claim they can't even answer a hypothetical example because they can't say anything that would indicate how they would rule on an issue from the bench. Frankly, this works to favor incumbent judges because people don't know how to vote, so they either don't vote or they vote for the incumbent. We have an open seat, And Larson, David Larson is the candidate we like. If you take the number that Larson got in the primary, and as I say, it was a fairly crowded primary race for this state Supreme Court position. If you take his vote plus the vote of the other kind of conservative candidate who was in that race and who's endorsed Larson after the primary, their numbers together add up to about 54%. So he has on paper an advantage to get elected in this race. Again, nonpartisan. You don't run as a Republican or a Democrat for a judge spot. So David Larson, remember that name and fill it in. And if anybody asks you, David Larson for the state Supreme Court position. We've had a tradition in our state, even though our state Supreme Courts tend to be pretty liberal, there's always been one conservative who's been kind of the conscience of the state Supreme Court and writes the dissenting opinion and all that kind of thing. We don't have one of those right now. So Larson would be that guy on the state Supreme Court. Well, that rounds out the statewide positions. Next on your ballot will be the legislative positions. The district you're in here, the 24th legislative district. And a lot of change in the 24th legislative district this year. The longtime state senator, Vandeweghe, stepped down, and in fact, lately, he's stepped all the way down. He just announced he was formally resigning, that might have been today or yesterday. He tried to run for that Commissioner of Public Lands race and did not do very well, but in order to do that, he could not run for that Senate seat again. So that seat is open. The state Senate seat is open. And our candidate is here with us tonight, Marcia Kelvin, who I know all of you know, has been working the campaign trail very hard and has a path to victory, has a path to being elected to the state Senate. Marcia, we need you in the state Senate because we need to make sure we have a buffer away from the other guys having a supermajority, which is not likely to happen, but we're closer to it than I'd be comfortable being. And if we can pick this seat up, if Marcia can get elected to the state Senate from here in the 24th district, that will give us a good edge and move us away more toward a balance where the conservatives and the liberals have something like an equal footing in the legislature. And I think the results, the laws, the budgets that we write would be much better for the balance. So our candidate for state Senate, the 24th district, Marcia Kelvin.
So I don't know if you guys can hear me whether I need this. I don't want to project.
You're good.
Good? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I am Marcia Kelvin, running for state Senate. I grew up as a middle-class kid. I'm a little proud. No, we were sort of clawing our way into the middle class. I grew up in Pennsylvania. That's a PA state. My dad never finished high school, blue collar, and gave us a great upbringing though. And I went through public college there. Then a boy from the Navy came out here, and I've had like a fantastic run for the last 43 years in Washington. And everything I did was so achievable simply by working hard. I did a master's in chemical engineering. I did law school out here at the UW. Raised 3 kids, had great educations in our public school systems. Started a business, joined a startup biotech, was there for 19 years. Had a house in Kingston, North Kitsap for 39 years. I live in Quilcene now, where I'm a fire commissioner. All of that was so readily obtained. So my decision to move to Washington State, WA, with my husband was a good one. But lately, I don't know, whether it's the engineer in me that my English is bad, but I keep thinking I live in CA instead of WA. If I wanted to live in California, I'd move there. And we have to try to get ourselves back on track, and that's what I'm working for, is so that our kids and our grandkids can actually do as well as many of us have done here. Getting a house here on the Olympic Peninsula and much of the state is very difficult, and I have met so many kids in their 30s that are back living at home with their parents, They have no chance of getting equity built up in a house. They have no chance of starting a family. Not everybody wants to, but if they want to, they should be able to do that. So we have to address housing. We have to address living wage jobs here. We had a thriving mill and timber economy. We've decimated that. I want to protect what's left. I advocate for that, and I can tell you that's not very popular in Jefferson County where I live. But I advocate for that as a fire commissioner. We need that revenue for our schools and our fire districts and our hospitals. And without that, we end up with these really painful levy battles here. And it's, people can only carry so much. So let's take some of the pressure off of that, get some of that revenue coming back in. We need that. Let's build some living wage industry here. And that's where, I look at some of these challenges, and I have this weird background. I'm technical, I'm legal, I'm business. I want to address those things. I worked as a patent attorney for a dozen years before going in-house. I helped a lot of businesses start and grow. I want to do that here. We have a lot of telecommuters. When they get bored, I want them to have a good business environment that they can start their business here. I want us to put people to work at building things. I want us to get kids through school that are qualified, as my kids were, to either go on for a skilled trade, which we need badly, or college, one or the other, both equally important. But right now, we're having, a third of our kids not being able to pass national math and reading standards, and that's critical. So we have to fix all of that. I really feel like there's a lot to be done here, and I have discovered that even more by knocking on doors. And everyone who's running a campaign is going to tell you that's important. I've taken it to heart. I'm about 7,000 doors in now throughout the district. And I hear some things very common. I hear a lot of people that are feeling the financial pain. They just, whatever their party politics are, and frankly, I'm pretty independent-minded. I can easily find common ground with most people. But whatever their politics are, they're tired of the pain at the pump, the grocery store, the utility bills, the insurance. A lot of that we can address in the legislature. Part of that is getting rid of this Climate Commitment Act that hasn't done us anything environmentally, but it's raised a lot of pain on us, on our daily expenses. It's wreaked pain on our schools and hospitals, which puts more levy pressures on. So let's get rid of that. Let's address some of this. One of the things, I hear a lot of things at doors that stick with me. Some of them are just strange. No, I don't support registered sex offender rights. I'm sorry. You want me to legalize prostitution? Oh, honey, that's, not really the way to go. But the thing that stuck with me most is this gentleman, a Republican, whose vote I probably should have had, and I don't think I earned it at the door, because he asked me what I stood for. And I went into my can, if you're a candidate, you're told to have three things, right? It's lower cost of living, it's improve education, improve public safety. He said, no, that's not what I mean, and he closed the door on me. And it made me think about it. What do I stand for? It's really pretty simple. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. If people can do for themselves, and most of us can, get out of the way and let us do it. But if you really need help, if you're elderly, you're disabled, you're a small child, that's when we step in and help. We haven't done as good a job differentiating those two things. So we need to get the government out of the way, let us build homes, let us build lives, let us build businesses. And if you are vulnerable, if you're a child whose parents are badly addicted, let's step in and protect you. Not what we've done in the past. We've let children die too often, even in this district. Let's make that distinction. There were 3 candidates in the primary for my seat. One of them is myself. One is Mike Chapman. Now, he's a long-term Democratic representative. Used to be a Republican, then went independent, then went Democratic. There were some things I admired about Mike. He stood up for law enforcement. He has a background there. I haven't seen that the last couple of years. He's voted in some weird ways. I can theorize it's something to do with the way he's funded, or party pressure. I don't know. It's one thing, I don't get that pressure from the party. I can be me. But the Democratic Party is not so forgiving, it seems like. He has voted to hold police that are under investigation and prosecution for police misconduct to a double standard. If the Attorney General or the Governor, who of course are not at all politically motivated, don't like the way an elected county prosecutor is prosecuting police misconduct, they can step in and do it themselves. That's wrong. And that is one of the reasons why he lost this year the endorsement of WAGOPs, Washington Council of Police Officers and Chiefs. I may have mangled that a bit, but he states incorrectly in the voters pamphlet that he has that. He does not. They've had enough of the kind of vote I just talked about, other votes where he's put interests of criminals ahead of victims. So he's lost that. But we had a third party race. The third candidate who lost the primary was a Democrat. He's endorsed me, and that's something we haven't widely said yet, but I'm going to let you know. His votes are up for grab because he actually drew the most from the most conservative county and the least from the most liberal county. So when I take my take in the primary, his votes, which I think are fair game, and what we typically gain during a pickup from primary to general as Republicans in this district, we're in pretty good shape. So we're working hard to get that across the finish line, and I want to get us some balance back. You know, we just need to have common sense Trump, not to use that word too often, but to Trump ideology. And I haven't seen that enough lately in this state. So that's what I'm working for. They're not here tonight, so I'm going to give a quick shout out, and you may touch this as well, but I have two running mates for the 24th Legislative District. So I mentioned Mike Chapman is my opponent. That seat is open, and we have Matt Robertson, prosecutor He's a good fellow. He's a relatively young man, late 30s, but he works incredibly hard because he's working full-time plus as a prosecutor. So after doorbelling, and he's going to be a tremendous asset for the state. And then we have Terry Roberts, who was a neighbor of mine in Quilcy. He has a background in finance and social services, kind of a unique mix there. He is running against Steve Theringer, and he's a conservative with good values. And we need to take all three of those seats. So please join me in trying to flip the 24th. It's due. We are probably the best opportunity to do that in the district. If anybody cares and they haven't done so, there are remits on the tables. Please go ahead and help. We're putting every penny we have into mailers, but I'm still looking to get funds for newspaper ads, radio, and get out the vote texting. Marcia Kelbon, State Senate, LD 24, appreciate your support. Thank you.
And Marcia was right to mention the other two candidates for the legislature that are running for it. So it's Marcia Kelbon for the State Senate, and then the two running for the two House positions, Matt Robertson and Terry Roberts.
Do you mind if I just give?
Yeah, go ahead, Pam, say a word.
All right, I'm Pam Blakeman, County Chair, and some of the names that have been brought up, I want to let you know that not this weekend, but the following weekend, October 12th, Fairview Grange, we are going to get a chance to hear Dave Larson, who's running for the Supreme Court Justice, so don't miss that. It's free unless you want to buy some food and beverages. And Pete Serrano is going to be there, who is running for Attorney General. I mean, these are great opportunities to hear these people. You hear them, it motivates you to go out and get people to vote for them. Drew McEwen will also be there. Again, he'll be here tomorrow, but he'll also be here on the 12th. Marcia will be here again, and it'll be a little more interactive, you know, where you can actually talk to her one-on-one. Matt Robertson will also be here. We are really fortunate to have these candidates that we have running for us, and Terry Roberts will also be there on the 12th. So the 12th at Fairview Grange should be it's an Oktoberfest kind of thing, and I cannot not say we are so fortunate to have Jim Walsh as the head of WSOP.
Thank you, Pam.
Yes,
Don't get that everywhere I go. Thank you, Pam.
you should.
All right, well, that concludes kind of the formal program here tonight. But we do say stick around for a bit, and we have a couple of our candidates left. Say hello to them, talk to them, ask them questions. This is a full vote. this election coming up. These ballots are gonna be full of choices, and really we have the opportunity to fix a lot of broken things in our state. So I encourage you, I thank you for being here, and I really do encourage you to do what the others have said. Talk to people more than you have in the past. There's so much going on this ballot, and we want to see voter participation. We want to get out the vote for this November general election. It's been a busy, packed year. The presidential stuff has taken a lot of people's attention. And we want to make sure not only that they send their votes back in, they get their votes counted, but they fill out the ballot from the top to the bottom. We want to make sure there's not the so-called undervote that you see, where people may vote for president, maybe governor, and then they leave the rest of the ballot blank. Now, that's allowed, that's legal, that's fine to do. But we really want to see that ballot full of good ovals filled out when it comes November 5th. So thanks for being here, spread the word, and stay in touch. And we'll continue to promote all the way through November 5th. God bless you.